A blizzard was setting in. A little boy was selling newspapers on the corner. The people were passing by, trying to hurry to their warm homes where they'd be in out of the cold. The little boy was so cold that he wasn't selling very many papers. He walked up to a policeman and said, "Mister, you wouldn't happen to know where a poor boy could find a warm place to sleep tonight, would you? You see, I sleep in a box up around the corner there and down the alley, and it's awful cold in there of a night. Sure would be nice to have a warm place to stay." The policeman looked down at the little boy and he said, "You go down the street to that big white house and you knock on the door. When they come to the door, you just say, John 3:16, and they will let you in." So he did. He walked up the steps and he knocked on the door, and a lady came to the door. He looked up and he said, John 3:16. The lady said, "Come on in, son." She took him in and she set him down in a split-bottom rocker in front of a great big old fireplace, and then she went off. He sat there for a while, then he thought to himself, John 3:16, I don't understand it, but it sure makes a cold boy warm. Later she came back and said, "Are you hungry?" He said, "Well, just a little. I haven't eaten in a couple of days, and I guess I could stand just a little bit of food." So she took him into the kitchen, and she set him down to a table full of nice food. He ate until he couldn't stand anymore. Then he thought to himself again, John 3:16. Boy, I sure don't understand it, but it sure makes a hungry boy full. She took him off upstairs to a bathroom, to a big old bathtub full of warm water, and he sat there and soaked for a while. As he soaked, he thought to himself, John 3:16. I sure don't understand it, but it sure makes a dirty boy clean. You know, I've not had a bath, I guess, in my whole life. The only bath I ever had was when I stood in front of the big old fire hydrant and they flushed them out. She came in and took him and tucked him into a big old feather bed and pulled the covers up around his neck. She kissed him goodnight and turned out the light. He laid there in the darkness, and as he looked out the window with the snow coming down, it was so cold and dark outside, he thought to himself, My, John 3:16, I don't understand it, but it sure makes a tired boy rested. The next morning she came back up and took him down again to that same big table full of food. After he ate, she took him back to that same big old split-bottom rocker in front of the fireplace. And she took a big old Bible and sat down in front of him and looked up at him and said, Do you understand John 3:16? He said, No, ma'am, I don't. The first time I ever heard it was last night when the policeman told me to use it. Then she opened the Bible to John 3:16 and she began to explain to him about Jesus. Right there in front of that big old fireplace, he gave his heart and his life to Jesus. And he sat there and thought, my, John 3:16, I don't understand it, but it sure makes a lost boy sad. You know, I don't understand it either. How God would be willing to send his son to die for me, and how Jesus would agree to do such a wonderful thing. I don't understand it either, but you know, it sure does make this lost person saved.
John 3:16, For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that whosoever believeth in him should not perish but have everlasting life.
Amen.
Amen.